Your generation got dealt the worst hand in modern history. And yet, you're still the most optimistic generation alive. 89% of millennials who said they didn't have enough still believed they'd reach their long-term financial goals. So the question is, what psychological system did you build that the data can't explain? Think back. Friday night. Your parents are pulling into the Blockbuster parking lot, walking those fluorescent-lit aisles, scanning rows of VHS tapes. If your movie was still on the shelf, pure triumph. If it was gone, genuine devastation. Saturday morning. You're up before your parents. Rugrats on Nickelodeon, Animaniacs, Hey Arnold. Whoever got to the TV first controlled the morning. You had a Tamagotchi in your pocket at school, sneaking it under the desk to feed it, because if it died during the third period, that was a real loss. You felt it. AOL. Instant Messenger. Signing on after school. That door-opening sound, waiting to see if they were online. This is the world you came from, warm, tactile, unhurried. Progress felt like the default. Adulthood was just the next chapter, and it was supposed to go fine. Then, 2008 happened. 37% of Americans aged 18 to 29 were either unemployed or had completely dropped out of the workforce. The highest rate for that age group in over 3 decades. You didn't just struggle to find work. You took whatever was offered, moved back home, called yourself lucky just to have a floor to sleep on. And somehow, out of all of that, you stayed optimistic. That's not an accident. That's a system. It's 2010. You're back in your childhood bedroom. Same twin mattress, same ceiling. Except now you have a college degree and a rejection email sitting in your inbox. By every external measure, you should be falling apart. But you're not. You update your resume. You apply again tomorrow. You tell yourself, and actually believe it, that this is temporary. Maybe you pick up a shift somewhere. Maybe you take a job that has nothing to do with anything you studied. Maybe you spend a lot of nights staring at the same ceiling, running the same calculations, and still wake up the next morning and try again. Not because you're naive, not because you can't see how bad it is, but because somewhere in you, the circumstance never became the story. The recession was something that happened to you. It didn't become you. That distinction, quiet, almost invisible from the outside, is the whole thing. That's not optimism born from privilege. That's optimism built inside a childhood bedroom at 24. Think about the last time you called your dad for advice. Not Google, not Reddit, your actual dad. Maybe it was taxes. Maybe it was a leaky faucet. Maybe you just needed someone to tell you that the decision you already made was the right one. You called him. That's not a weakness. Turns out, researchers notice this across your entire generation. Every generation before yours came of age by pushing back. The 60s rewrote the moral rulebook. The 80s declared war on everything their parents built. There was always a line drawn, our way versus yours. But your generation never drew that line. When researchers asked you directly, who has better values, stronger work ethic, more respect for other people? You said your parents. You said your grandparents. Not out of low self-esteem, not because you've given up, but because somewhere along the way, you made a quiet decision. I'm not here to overthrow anything. I'm here to learn what they got right before it disappears. Psychologists call this moral humility, but you probably just call it knowing who to call. You're driving somewhere. A song comes on, something from middle school, something you haven't heard in 15 years. And just like that, you're not in the car anymore. You're not thinking about rent, or the email you forgot to send, or whether you're behind where you thought you'd be by now. For about 3 minutes and 40 seconds, You're just someone who doesn't have to figure anything out yet. That's not escapism. That's your mind doing something very deliberate. Or think about this. You go home for Thanksgiving. You walk through the front door, and the smell of the house hits you. Something specific. Something that hasn't changed in 20 years. And for a moment, before anyone says anything, before the questions about work and life and plans, you're just a kid who lives here. The weight of your actual life lifts. Just for a moment. But that moment is doing real work. Researchers who study nostalgia found something unexpected. It doesn't just make you feel warm, it protects you. Specifically, when your present is difficult and your future is uncertain, nostalgia breaks the connection between those two things and who you believe you are. It steps in and says, you were someone before the difficulty. You are still that person. This is not the whole story. Researchers call it an existential resource, not a coping mechanism, not weakness. A resource. Something you actively draw on to keep yourself intact when everything outside feels unstable. That 3-minute, 40-second song in the car? Aren't you living in the past? It's you rebuilding, quietly, without realizing it, enough of yourself to keep going. Here's the thing nobody predicted about your generation. You came of age at the exact moment the internet became a weapon. You watched people get destroyed by a tweet from 2009, a photo they didn't know was being taken, a version of themselves they thought was private, suddenly public, permanent, unforgivable. You absorbed all of that, and then you did something that didn't make sense on paper. You got a tattoo. You showed up with a piercing, a dyed streak, a visible marker that said, "This is who I am." And at the same time, your digital privacy settings were locked down tight. Your real life, the actual one, carefully kept out of reach. Researchers called it cautious exhibitionism. From the outside, it looks like a contradiction, but it's not. It's precision. You decide what to show. You decide what to keep. Because you know exactly what it costs. When you give the wrong room, the full version of yourself. You didn't get the easy path. You got the recession at 22. The twin mattress at 26. The job that had nothing to do with your degree. The text to your parents asking if you could come home. Again. And out of all of that, you built something most people don't have. A way to hold difficulty without being crushed by it. A quietness that looks like passivity, but isn't. A past you can actually live inside when the present gets too loud. 3 mechanisms, all running quietly, all at the same time. None of them is visible from the outside. And none of these things, did anyone teach you? You figured them out the way you figured out most things. On your own, under pressure, without a manual. You were never the problem they made you out to be. You were always just someone who had to figure out how to carry more. And did.